Hello everyone. The topic that we are going to discuss today is what is called as convexity. Now this topic is particularly relevant for students who are pursuing FRM and also CFA. Now what is convexity in relation to bonds? Well, you all know that the relationship between yield and the prices of the bond is an inverse relationship. That means if the yield or the interest rate goes up, then the price of the bond comes down, and inversely, if the yield goes down, the price of the bond goes up. Now, generally speaking, in a casual manner, we tend to demonstrate this relationship by way of a straight line. Let me show you. We say this is the yield and this is the price. So you notice as the yield drops, the price of the bond goes up, and as the yield keeps increasing, the price of the bond falls down. Now this diagram indicates that the relationship between the yield and the price is a linear one, and therefore if we find the slope of this line, we can accurately predict the change in price of the bond for every percentage change in the yield. But unfortunately, that is not true. The relationship is not linear. The line which we have shown in the screen, this yield curve, is not straight line. It's got a curvature to it. Let me prove it to you first. Let's take a bond which has got a face value of, let's say, 100, and let's take a coupon of 10%, and let us say the term of the bond is, we can say it is we can take a fairly long period of bond to show the curvature. Let's take 20, or maybe we can take 30 years. Now let us find the price of this bond for various levels of yield. That means we'll find out what is the price of the bond if the yield on this bond is, say, 5%, 6%, and so on. So let us take the various levels of yield. So we'll start with 5%, and then we'll keep increasing this by 1%. And let me just zoom it back. So let's copy it right up to 20%, and here we calculate the market price. So let me just calculate the market price by using the Excel function. Of course, you can always find it out the traditional way, but I'm finding out the value of the bond using the Excel function. Rate is the yield, end period is 30, payment is 10 rupees, and face value is 100. So I just changed the sign. So we've got the price of the bond at a 5% yield, and we just click and drag it down. So now this has given me the price of the bond at various levels of yield. So at a 5% yield, the price of the bond is 176.86, and at 6% it is 155.06, and so on. Now let us represent this yield and price relationship in the form of a graph by using a scatter graph. Now, do you notice this? This line, which represents the relationship between the yield and the price, is not actually a straight line. It's got a curvature, and the curvature is towards the 0 point. And if you notice the nature of the curve, it's convex in nature. And that is why when we measure the slope of this curve, we refer to it as the convexity of the curve. Now, let's get into this in a little more detail. Now, it is often said that the convexity is a friend of the bondholder. Now, why do we say that? Let's first try to understand that. See, the casual manner of representing the yield curve is at a 10% yield. The price of the bond is 100. Now, if we presume that the yield falls, let us presume that it falls to say 5%, then the price of the bond as per the straight line should be here. But then in reality, the price of the bond will be here. That means if the yield has fallen, then the price of the bond has increased, but in reality it has increased more than what is represented by this straight line. And similarly, if we presume that the yield has increased to this point, that means the price of the bond, if the yield was represented as a straight line, should have fallen to this level, but in reality the price of the bond would have fallen only up to this level. So when the yield increases, the price of the bond falls, but the fall is really not as steep as it is represented by a straight line. Therefore, we say that the convexity is the bondholder's friend, because when the yield falls down, the price of the bond increases by a higher amount, and when the yield increases, the price of the bond falls, but it falls by a lower amount. Now, the whole process of convexity is finding the slope of this curve, because once we find the slope of this curve, then we can accurately predict for every change in yield, or for every percentage change in yield, how much will the bond prices change by. Of course, we could have also done that by way of finding the slope of the straight line, but that would have only given the approximation, because in reality the movement of the price and the yield cannot be represented by a straight line, because the line has got a convexity attached to it. Now, generally, how do you find the change in price of a bond for every percentage change in the yield? We do that by finding what is called as the modified duration. So let us find the modified duration of this bond first. So for that, we need to go back to Excel again. So now here I have calculated the duration of the bond. So I've got the year, the cash flows, the PVIF at 10%, the discounted cash flows, the proportion of the discounted cash flows, and then the time weight, that is proportion into the time. And this gives us the duration. Now please notice on this is the duration. This is not the modified duration. This is the duration of the bond as 10.3696, or let's say 10.37. Now from this we need to calculate the modified duration. So let us see how we do that. Now we know that modified duration is duration into 1 upon 1 plus y upon n. So 10.37 into 1 upon 1 plus. Now since I have found the duration at a yield of 10%, so 0.10 divided by number of coupons in a year, and we are presuming that the bond to pay annual coupons, so it's 0.1 divided by 1. And if we calculate this, we get modified duration as 9.43%. Now, please remember that this modified duration is only a rough estimate and it does not exactly measure the change in price of the bond for every percentage change in the yield. This only gives a close enough result. That is because this presumes a linear relationship. But now we know that the relationship between the price of the bond and the yield is not linear, but it's got some convexity attached to it. Now the question is, how do we calculate this convexity? First, I'll show you the numbers and then I'll give you the notations for it. Or maybe come to think of it, first I'll give you the notation and then I'll show you the numbers. So the notation for finding convexity. Now for that, let us first write down the prices at various points. That is at 9%, 10% and 11%. See, at 10% we know that the price of the bond is par, and at 9% the price of the bond is 110.27. that is what we calculated in the Excel sheet, and at 11% it is 91.31. Now, if we presume this to be the mean value, we can say that this is V0, this is V minus, and this is V plus. Now, we can write the formula for convexity as V minus plus V plus minus 2V0 upon 2V0 into delta y square. Now this formula could be looking pretty intimidating to you, but let's just break it down. See, we are measuring the change in price from a mean. Now we know in this case that the mean is 100, right? So that means the first change which occurs when the yield goes down, that from 10% to 9%, is from 100 to 110.27. So we can say the first change is 110.27 minus 100. So that's a positive change. Plus the next change is 91.31 from 100. So that we can write it as 91.31 minus 100. Now if you notice this measures change both ways, right? So in order to measure a singular change, we need to divide this whole thing by 2. Now this would give us an absolute number, but since again we need to express this as a percentage, so we need to divide it by the base. And in this case, since we have measured the change with respect to the base of 100, that is this being the mean price, so we divide this by 100. And since the curvature is the second order derivative, remember the straight line was the first order derivative and the curved line is the second order derivative, we multiply this by delta y square. Now if I simplify this, I can write this as 110.27 minus 100 plus 91.31 minus 100 whole thing upon 2 into 100 into delta y square. Now if I just rearrange the figures, 110.27 plus 91.31 minus 100, so that's minus 200 whole thing upon 2 into 100 into delta y square. Now if you read this along the notation, 110.27, remember 110.27 is V minus, so this is V minus. 91.31, that is V plus. Minus 200, now minus 200 is nothing but minus 2 into V0. Whole thing upon 2 into 100 is V0 into delta y square. Now you notice that is nothing but this formula. Okay, so this is how we measure convexity. Now coming back to the numbers, let us just solve this. So if we solve this, we get 110.27 plus 91.31 minus 200, that gives us 1.58 upon 2 into 100 and delta y squared, that is change in the yield. Now we are dealing with a change in the yield of 1%, so into 1% whole square. Now please remember this is 1% whole square, so when you solving this, you've got to take it as 0.01 whole square. So if we solve for this, we get 79. So this represents the convexity. Now where do we use this convexity? Now you'll notice that we found out modified duration 9.43, but we also realized that this 9.43 doesn't really reflect the true picture because it presumes a linear relationship. Therefore what we need to do is we need to adjust this modified duration for the curvature, and the 79 which we found out is the curvature. So we need to adjust this modified duration with the curvature, and the resultant figure will now give us a more accurate representation of changes in bond price for every percentage change in the yield. So how do we do that? The formula for that is convexity into delta y square plus minus modified duration into delta y. Now you'll be wondering why I wrote plus minus here. Let me explain this to you. This is not plus minus, it is actually two formulas. See, if yield goes up, then price of bond decreases. In this case, to find out how much will the bond price decrease for every percentage upward movement of the yield, we can use the formula of convexity delta y square, and since we are talking about a bond price decrease, minus modified duration into delta y. And conversely, if yield goes down, then price of bond increases. In such a case, in order to find out how much will the bond price increase by for every percentage fall in the yield, we can use the formula of convexity into delta y square plus, the reason we are doing plus is because in this case the bond price is going to increase, plus modified duration into delta y. Now let's see how this works in this case. Now we have calculated convexity as 79, right? So let's first calculate for if yield goes down from 10% to 9%, then what will be the change in the price of the bond? We've calculated convexity as 79. Delta y square, now we are calculating for a percentage change in the yield, so that will be 0.01 whole square plus 9.43, which is the modified duration, into delta y, that is 0.01. Now if we solve this, we get 10.22%. Now if you notice, when the yield went down from 10 to 9 at 10%, the price of the bond was 100. But when the yield went down to 9%, what was the price of the bond? The price of the bond was 10.27. You see this? That's giving near about that same answer, give or take for the rounding off. And similarly, if yield goes up from 10% to 11%, we can say this will be convexity 79 into 0.01 whole square minus 9.43 into 0.01. And if we solve this, we will get 8.64%. So if you notice, when the yield went from 10 to 11%, the price of the bond was 91.31, which is roughly 100 minus 8.64. So that's 91.36, which is roughly about this figure. Now the minor differences that we are getting is because of the rounding off. So this, students, is what convexity is all about. Now in the next series of the video, we will be learning how to solve problems using this concept. So keep watching this space for the second video in this series, where I'm going to explain the concept of convexity.